Welcome to Your Hero Academia by Fangirl48 on AO3. Chapter 8. Welcome to UA's dorms. Hamajiki stumbled a little at the surprising firm grip from him. All the Magnifest user wanted to do right now was go home, curl up in a dark room with his favorite snack and not come back unless Vacum called or school started back up. But no. Instead, he was here, helping Mirio and Nijiri with the open house for the dorms. At first, Amajiki had tried to say he was busy, but like usual, the dark-haired hero was weak against the pair's bright smiles and had reluctantly agreed to help. At least Midoriya's had arranged it to the Magnifester user working in the kitchen. Amajiki's own knowledge of food, coupled with the surprising skills in the kitchen, it made him the perfect partner for lunch rush. If only he hadn't stepped outside for a small break. Then those terrifying golden eyes wouldn't have been able to pin Amajiki down. The boy was just frozen just long enough for a pink bundle to be shoved into his arm before running away, screaming a girl's name. "Are you sure it's this way?" The little girl turned around, looking up at Akajimi. "Everything looks the same." Looking around the nearest building, Akajimi quickly realized that the girl was right. They had gone around in a circle. Crouching down, a familiar dark cloud settled over the hero. "I want to go home." Mimi wasn't sure what to do. Her mom had told her that the pointy-eared boy would take her to Izuku. The pair had looked away for just 1 second. The 1 second that their backs were turned was all May needed to disappear, probably off in search of one of those school's workshops. If Mimi couldn't find Izuku, how could Mom find her? Sniffling slightly, Mimi tried to hold back tears, but the thought of never seeing her mom or sister again, but it just hurt too much. Throwing her head back, the girl crouched down and started to cry too. Instantly, the dark cloud of depression over Akajimi vanished and was replaced with something worse. Fear. He hadn't meant to make this little girl cry. What sort of hero makes a little girl cry? Please don't cry." Akajimi held his hands out to stop, just short of the pink hair. Suddenly, the Magnifex user was afraid of making things worse. Oh, what would Mirio do in this situation? A light bulb went off inside Akajimi's head. Pulling out the small bag of sugars he always kept with him and holding it out. "Here, look, I have candy." The girl looked up before a sharp bark made the pair jump. The hero student barely had time to react before something dark rushed Akajimi and knocked him over. Whatever was on top of him was trying to get the candy, but the Magnifest user knew he had to protect it. "Ah, Porch, no!" A heavy voice came before the weight on Akajimi's chest disappeared. "Sorry about him, Tamaki. We're still learning manners, aren't we, Porch?" The dog barked, as if in agreement. For a moment, Amajiki swore he saw a bright light surrounding Izuku as he held the squirming dog in his arms. Put the dog down with a sharp look, Izuku held his hand out towards the fallen third year. "Izuku!" A small pink form rushed out and attacked themselves to Izuku's leg. The boy looked surprised for a second before realizing who it was. "Mimi, what are you doing here? Where's your mom, or May?" "Izuku!" May cried. "Izuku!" Mimi cried as Izuku leaned down, picked her up with ease. "May disappeared. Mom went to look for her and left me with the sad boy. We were looking for you, but got lost. Where were you? You didn't come to find us sooner." Izuku smiled and patted Mimi's head. "Sorry, I didn't know I was supposed to come find you." "What sort of Prince Charming doesn't come looking for the princess?" May huffed, crossing her arms. Izuku chuckled internally. May had taken to calling Izuku Prince Charming just like May had, only when the inventor used it to tease Izuku. May believed wholeheartedly that Izuku was some kind of storybook hero who would always win. One who trusts one of their kingdom's best knights to look after said princess. Izuku ruffled her hair, smiling at Akajimi. Thanks for looking after her, Tamaki. Oh, uh. The Magnifest user twiddled his thumbs nervously. It's no problem. Again, sorry about Pooch, jumping on you. Izuku, glared at the dog. Pooch barked happily in return, spinning around slightly, tongue hanging out. He probably smelled food, the little glutton. Amajiki nodded, looking at the girl, thrusting his arm out and holding the candy bag out to Mimi. I'm sorry I made you cry. Please accept this candy as an apology. Large gold eyes looked at the bag, slowly reaching out to take it. Mimi looked at the star-shaped sugar inside and opened the bag up. Taking a small handful out, she held out her arm to Akajimi. The Magnifest user let the small candy fall into his open palm, looking confused. Mimi reached out and patted Akajimi's cheeks, smiling at him. Good job. Unable to take it anymore, Akajimi just turned around and ran away from the pair as fast as he could. I'll buy you lunch later, Tamaki, Izuku shouted after the boy. The Magnifest user stopped and turned around, looking at Izuku for a moment, nodding. The next second, the boy was off running, leaving the trio behind. Izuku? Mimi looked up at the green-haired boy as he pulled her back to the ground. Who was that? Ah, Akajimi, the boy responded, holding out a hand to Mimi. The other kept a tight hold of the dog leash. He's a third year in the hero course. The girl let out a surprised noise. What? But he's so shy? Izuku offered, to notice that Mimi had this look on her face. Even after all these months, the girl was still nervous about meeting new people. Mimi only came out of her shell around Izuku and her family. There were some exceptions to that, though. But Izuku would manage Mimi's behavior was because how she was treated. When everyone constantly treated you like a glass doll that would break down, it took a toll on you, no matter how unaffected by it you may seem. Izuku couldn't understand that train of thought when it came to quirkless people. The world he came from was the exact opposite. The quirkless were the ones who held all the power. Those with quirks were seen as nothing but monsters that needed to be killed or imprisoned. How things have changed in 200 years. Mimi? Izuku kneeled down, taking the girl's hand. You know Fat Gum? The BMI hero. The girl's eyes widened slightly before looking excited. Mama has all his recipes. She says that after lunch rush, he's the only hero who knows what good food really is. Izuku nodded with the assessment of the hero. That's right. Well, I'm a Sun Eater. Is one of Fat Gum's sidekicks. Even though he's really shy. When he's super strong, when he has to protect something. Really? Yep. Izuku nodded, holding out his hand. Why don't we watch last year's sports festival tonight? Okay. Mimi nodded, taking Izuku's hand. The pair made their way back to the dorm. When the pair got into the building, Mimi marveled how big it was. Upon opening the door, they were greeted by multiple eyes, from both parents and incoming students. Hello, everyone, Izuku smiled. Sorry about the wait. We just got a little lost here. A tall, buff man with orange hair smiled. I hear that. This place is a little like a village inside a fortress. I'm impressed with how quickly you all finished the construction. That was mostly Cementos. Izuku led a porch over to his bed, giving the small dog a warning look. I must say, a beautiful, dark-haired woman in a red suit spoke, looking around. It's smaller than I thought it would be. Mother, one of the recommend students hissed, her face reddening slightly. Principal Nezu originally wanted it to make small apartment buildings like complex. Izuku walked back over to the group, looking at everyone. There were more people than he anticipated here. It looked like many incoming first years hero students were planning on taking advantage of the Jordan system. Thankfully, Shoto was here, and not with Endeavor this time. But where were Uraraka's parents? Surely the girl didn't come alone. Ultimately, that idea was scrapped to make an individual dorm building. Izuku continued, looking over the adults' faces. UA wants the dorms to create strong bonds. We want students to grow together and make long life friends and connections. I see. The woman smiled softly, glancing at who Izuku assumed was her daughter. The all-or-nothing user would have to watch the girl. If she had been bullied in the past, he wouldn't stand any repeats on his watch. Excuse me? A blond boy with pale blue eyes raised his hand. Sorry for interrupting, but you look familiar. Have we met before? Izuku felt Mimi come to stand behind him, grabbing his leg. Yeah, I know what you mean, another blonde remarked, a strange black lightning bolt in his hair. Super familiar looking. Are you a second year or something? Oh, no. Izuku shook his head. This will be my first year also. If this is your first year, why are you here? Why not someone older? The red and white haired woman next to Shoto asked nervously. Or a teacher? Izuku sighed, wishing that one of the teachers had come with him like he originally wanted. However, everyone was stretched thin between the other dorms, security, and preparing meals for the overnight guests. Even with everyone working together, the third-year students were still called in to help. Taking a deep breath, Izuku put on his best Tomura-like face. I understand your concerns. All of you are going to be entrusting UA with your precious family members. I know I may seem young, but No. We at UA only want what's best for the students. Izuku noticed the adults' faces ranged from curious to skeptical. It would be so much easier just to tell everyone that he was Nezu's personal student, but Izuku didn't want his future classmates to think he was getting special treatment. Izuku helped make this place, May declared, coming out from behind him. Mr. Nezu and Izuku worked hard to make this place nice. Please don't be mad at him. Mimi? Ah! A pink-skinned girl suddenly cried, pointing at the pair. Don't matter, Kun. Oh my gosh, that's why you look so familiar. No way. A boy with silver hair said, whipping out his phone and typing something. A second later, Izuku heard himself talking. Matter, like superficial ties, like the number one or strongest, don't matter. What matters is helping people, not hurting them. And hey, a red-haired boy who was watching the phone said, that's the same girl too. Ribbit, adorable. Totally, the pink-skinned girl said, skipping over to the pair and smiling at Mimi. Hi there, I'm Mina Ashido. Look, I have pink hair too. Want to be pink buddies? Mei looked at the smiling girl, her face turning red before she dove behind Izuku again. Izuku just laughed at Ashido's pouting face and placed his hand down on curly pink hair. Sorry, Mei's here is a little shy around strangers. Thanks to Mei, the tension was now broken. Izuku could see some of the parents still sent him curious glances every once in a while, but most seemed more interested in the dorm's layout now. It was clear that some of the adults had been worried about the male and female students living in the same building. Thankfully, one quick look at the security system installed on each floor was enough to ease their minds. If anyone tried to sneak into the other side of the building after hours, an alarm would be triggered. Obviously, boys and girls weren't allowed in each other's rooms alone. Cameras installed in the hallways would make sure that didn't happen. Midnight had also insisted on one of the empty rooms be converted to make it into a place where the students could have private conversations with each other. Some teachers thought this would be too tempting for the students, but President Mike had backed up the rated R heroine, critiquing that some topics couldn't be discussed freely in the common rooms as they could behind a closed door. A large soundproof glass panel, instead of concrete walls, was used. Instead of the typical dorm room setup, there was a couch, a few chairs, and a large table inside. To access the room, all students entering needed to swipe their student cards. By the time the parents had finished inspecting every room in the building, the seasoned CSIs, it was getting close to dinner. Izuku returned everyone to the common room, surprised by who was waiting for him. Standing, in complete hero form, Vlad King and Eraserhead waiting for the group to return. Well, this is a surprise, Izuku said, looking at the men. I thought you both were on security detail. Vlad King coughed. Nezu called in a small favor from the local allium. It just didn't seem right not to introduce ourselves to our future students. Turning to the group, Vlad King gave a slight bow. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vlad King. I will be the homeroom teacher for Class 1B. I promise to do my best and train you to be strong heroes for the future. The students and parents all looked touched at the words. There were a few excited eyes that turned at Aizawa, since he was obviously going to be teaching 1A. Right, the man said, rubbing the back of his head. I'm Eraserhead. I will be teaching 1A. It is nice to meet you. That's it, ran through everyone's mind. Uncle Show! A pink blur ran towards the man. Aizawa sighed and leaned down to pick up May. After the mess her older sister made in one of those support labs, the underground hero had promised to return her to her mother. Hello, May. How was the tour? Super fun. The girl stretched her arms out. I just hope Sis had just as much fun as me. Judging by the thrown-around looks Aizawa had seen in the lab before he left with Vlad, the older Hatsumi had clearly had her own version of fun before her mother had bursted her. I'm sure she can tell you all about it when I return you to your mother. Aizawa nodded, looking at Vlad. Are you going to be okay escorting everyone to the gym? The blood user nodded. Of course. Turning to leave, Aizawa made his exit as quickly as he could. May shyly waved goodbye from his shoulder to everyone. A few minutes later, Vlad started, filling everyone else out. Izuku watched as they walked by. Shoto and his sister, mother, practically ran out of the building. Ashiro and the red-haired boy were chatting with an orange-haired girl. A boy with a bird-like appearance was quietly talking to the girl with white hair who just nodded back. The dark-haired recommended student was excitedly chatting with other girl who had a frog-like appearance. The parents seemed to follow and watch fondly as their kids made new friends. All except one person. That is. Izuku waited patiently for that one person to leave. Before Uraraka could make her escape, Izuku grabbed her by the back of her shirt, stopping her from leaving. And where do you think you're going? To get dinner? The girl said, looking confused. Ochako. The gravity user stiffened slightly. She knew that tone. It was the same one her mother used, and Dad, before they grounded her. Hey, I never got a chance to thank you for helping me. Uraraka smiled, trying to change the topic. Izuku frowned deeper. Where are your parents, Uraraka? The girl looked away nervously, her voice dropping to a whisper. At home? What? Izuku said, letting the girl go like she burned. Why? Well, Uraraka said, looking flustered. Mom and Dad had to work this weekend, but I really wanted to come to the open house, so I grabbed my savings and hopped on a train. Izuku honestly wasn't sure what to say right now. Was this how Hisashi felt when he had done something stupid? If it was, The all-or-nothing user was definitely apologizing to his eldest brother the next time they talked. Taking a deep breath, Izuku let out a sigh. And just where were you planning to stay tonight? Your name isn't on the overnight list. I didn't know there was one. Uraraka laughed, scratching the back of her head. But that's okay, I brought enough money for a cheap hotel room. No, the boy thought immediately. Just no. There weren't many places that weren't sketchy that would be open later. Izuku was not letting his future classmate/student spend the night in some creepy hotel. Honestly, what were kids today think? Izuku gasped, realizing something at this moment. Midoriya? A waved hand in front of his face. You were right there. Izuku realized, right now, that he wasn't just some person out of time. He was an old man out of time, and all of his future classmates were babies, with no self-preparation instincts. Groaning slightly as he ran his hand over his face, Izuku decided, until his classmates/students developed enough to protect themselves, Izuku would have to protect everyone just as hard as the teachers. And it all started here. Taking Uraraka's hand, Izuku leaned him closer. How do you feel about the mad scientist? Ponchi is such a cute name for Izuku's dog. I love that Izuku gets a dog and has a name now. I'm gonna talk about what Izuku just said, the whole, old man out of time. So I feel like the author is leaning towards more of Izuku having an older mindset, which is fine, but at the same time I'm like, is it really him having an older mindset, or being the whole, I'm older than you, I'm an old man, ha ha, but really being immature? I mean, that whole, okay, you know what? I still think it's that whole, okay, I am an old man trapped in this small body, and everyone else, especially like the teacher's like, are you sure about that? Like, you still behave like a 15-year-old, my dude. It's like, no, I'm an old man. Because, I'm sorry, but looking at, obviously All Might, seeing if there's more apartments available, and jumping to the conclusion of, he's leaving me, instead of jumping to the conclusion of, oh, he's getting a new apartment for whatever other reason, and we should talk this out like adults, or something like that, is, I don't know, that, and that outburst as well. Not saying that obviously adults don't get outbursts, but that one specifically, it seemed more of a teen outburst, feeling as though they're being rejected, or like a young adult, right? If he's really the old man, he's supposed to say like 200 years old man. I'm sorry, but I don't think someone with the mindset of a 200-year-old, right, like some vampire bullshit, would come to that conclusion, Like, I feel like that, I don't know. I'm just saying, I still feel like this is the whole, he's like, oh yes, I am an old man. I am an old man trapped in a young body. No, you are a 15-year-old with a 15-year-old mind. I'm sorry to break it to you. I'm still of that belief. I don't know. What do you guys think in the comments? And as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Join our community Discord server, link is in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content. And thank you so much for watching.